Panther Prince Productions, 3 Milli Productions presents
Run It Up
podcast. Conversations on sports, both from an analytical and conscious perspective like never seen or heard before. Right on time for the people. Hosted by your brother Haroon Nisset and my good brother Caleb Smith.
Run It Up.
Family, this is the Run It Up podcast. We're here to bridge consciousness in sports, and we're here to bring you a whole nother experience that you ain't never seen or heard before, family. So we're going to start the show off right. We're going to start it at the top. Now, Monday, we saw the Texans take on the Cowboys. We saw before the game, we saw Dak Prescott come out. And something that I noticed about Dak was that he had a New York Yankees hat. Now, I know that he's known for wearing a lot of Yankees memorabilia. However, in the same day, they demoted Daniel Jones, right? And they upgraded DeVito. But I don't think they're going to stick with DeVito. I just believe they're just putting him in there for the moment like they do with coaches when they get fired. And I believe that Dak Prescott knows that his days are probably numbered in Dallas. As we can see, Shedeur Sanders looks like he's about to be the shoo-in for that position. So Dak Prescott is basically signaling to the people, I want to go to the Giants. You know, they're not expected to really win a Super Bowl every year. Dallas is really expected to honestly win a Super Bowl every year, and every year they fail the mark. So I believe Dak Prescott can flourish, as we see with people like Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, where, you know, people don't really know their name, but they're dominating on the teams that they are at right now in a way that they were not dominating in teams before, because now the environment fits them. Maybe Dak going to New York, that might be a good fit for him. What you think, my brother?
Yeah, man. I love that because I think Dak, he's already played in a very, well, not a very, the most pressure situation you could possibly play in, playing for the Dallas Cowboys. I hate Jerry Jones, like many other black people in America. I mean, you're talking about an avid racist. And man, honestly, and Shannon Sharp, he alluded to this as well. We saw Tony Romo growing up, hey, Rue, as you know, who was a lesser quarterback than a Dak Prescott, and he got paid with no type of friction. Dak Prescott had to fight for that check. And if you think about it, since Dak has been drafted, I think it was, 2016, 2017-ish, Dak has been a winner. Dak, if we take away postseason, Dak has been an excellent quarterback. The past few years, you're talking about 10-plus wins a season. That's so hard to do in the league. I get it. It's the NFC East. A lot of people like to call it NFC least because it's a terrible division. However, Dak has done what a good quarterback is supposed to do. He's dominated in division play. He's dominated in the regular season. And to me, it's a good problem to have if we say, oh, in the postseason, he's not getting it done. That just means that you're making it to the postseason. And if you think about it, last time that they were in the playoffs, I think a few years back, he ended Tom Brady's career on the road at Tampa. Nobody talks about that. So I think Dak, he will be a really good fit for the Giants. He's a solid quarterback. I mean, you don't have to worry about him having off the field issues. He's great on camera. He's a team guy, great attitude, watches film. So, yeah, man, I think Dak, he will be perfect for the Giants. But my preferred team for Dak, and I said this even last year, is the Raiders. I think Dak, to me, besides the Cowboys, the second biggest brand is arguably the Raiders. And being in Vegas, that's another big city. And also a major factor, if I'm making $60 million a year, is no state income tax. In Texas, I don't have state income tax. So if I go to New York, who has arguably the highest state income tax, that's $60 million. That's going to get ate up. Opposed to I go to Vegas, I get all my bread. Fun environment. Mark Davis is like Jerry Jones as well. You're talking about a Maverick owner. So I like the Raiders, but if he does end up in New York, I have no problem with that. And I think he can actually turn around New York pretty fast.
Yeah, definitely. And it might even be a fight because word on the street is that, you know, I know we look at Shedeur Sanders going to the Dallas Cowboys, but, you know, they're saying that he's been tweeting every time the Raiders lose. So, you know, it might be a battle, you know. It's just interesting what type of battle that might, you know, we might see when that ensues. So all we know is that time will tell. And we know pretty much Dak is out. His season's pretty much over due to injury, you know, and with Shedeur Sanders, as we were talking to off camera, Shedeur Sanders is leaving Colorado and he's going to be in the draft next year. So there was a brother that you had mentioned to me that we were talking about. He's going to be the quarterback that takes over for Colorado. Who was that brother?
Big deal. Juju Lewis. So Juju is from Carrollton, Georgia, which is who we used to play on football growing up. So Carrollton's like 35, 45 minutes west of Atlanta. It's near like Alabama almost. But Juju is a star quarterback at Carrollton, Georgia. He is a beast, man. He's been a prodigy since like middle school. And I think Juju, if I'm not mistaken, originally might have been committed to USC, I think. But Coach Prime, he was able to flip him. And I think that's a really big deal because it shows a passing of the torch. Shedeur, he was even shown in photos dropping keys off to Juju in a photo shoot of, hey, he's next in line. I'm going to pass him the keys. And I think that solidifies Coach Prime staying in Colorado. He already said, hey, my kickstand is down. I'm staying here, which I think is the best move because staying or leaving rather to Dallas, it doesn't make sense. It sounds cool. It sounds great. But to me, you're talking about a very unstable owner. You will have pressure to win immediately, opposed to already being at Colorado where he's already treated like the Godfather. He can't do anything wrong. And it's just, to me, Prime is perfect for college. He's perfect for college. He's perfect for molding young men. He's perfect for, as you see, he can flip the biggest recruits. This is like the third time he's done this. He did it for Travis Hunter, #1 recruit, flipped him to go to Jackson State. He flipped Kamani McClain, which is a big one that a lot of people, they forget about. He was the #1 recruit as well. He was a 5-star, but he had discipline issues and he got kicked out of Colorado. But Juju up next, another 5-star recruit, 2nd overall player. So if now that he has him, you start talking about the transfer portal and kids, they're going now, kids from Alabama, Georgia, even a USC, they'll start saying, hey, when I transfer, I might have to tap in with Coach Prime. And I think now, man, he's about to build a powerhouse. So, yeah, it's a pretty big deal.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. They usher in a new age, man. Juju Smith next up. So let's talk about also another person who just came in the NFL, brother JAYDEN McDaniels from LSU. Now, that brother is off to a tremendous start. Nobody would have necessarily predicted this. I probably would have never predicted this. You know, it's just crazy. You know, that play he did with the Bears on the Bears when he threw that Hail Mary and the dude caught it. A lot of that memorabilia is already in the Hall of Fame now. That's crazy. When you know, it's just unbelievable. And then the fact that we put in perspective that his mother, his black mother, is his you know, manager. You know, is his agent. She's the one, you know, curating a lot of his things. So we're starting to see that with people like even Jalen Hurts, him having a black woman as his agent, you know, might not be his mother, but just having that feminine role. And we know that women, black women in particular, they get hella things done, especially
they get the job done.
especially when we're working in tangent with one another. So our brother, he, you know, just having that damn near picture perfect start, you know, his image, clean cut image. The brother is off to just a marvelous start. Like, so I could just imagine what's next for him. You know, he's the type of person that he could get to the playoffs, possibly even get to a Super Bowl. Like, that's how real it is when you got people like Lamar Jackson giving him his respects. I mean, even if they lost, and I think, and you know, they've lost the past 2 games, but you know, that's learning. We all learn. He could lose those 2 games, win every other game, and then now he's in a position to go to the playoffs. What do you think about JAYDEN McDaniels?
Man, listen, hey, Rue, I'm with you, bro. JAYDEN, he is a dog, and I think unlike the Caleb Williams, I think he's way more humble. And like when I say humble, I don't say it in that sense of, you know, unfortunately how white draft recruits and scouts try to say, oh, he should be humble. No, I'm saying to me, he seems more of like a leader of men, way more personable. And I think people, they forget that he won the Heisman last year at LSU. And I think JAYDEN, Dan Orvalsky, I have to give it to him. He said this back in March, I believe, that JAYDEN was the better quarterback out of him and Caleb Williams. And right now, his prediction proves to be true. I will be honest, too. I kind of had that same sentiment because if you think about it, right, Caleb Williams wasn't a winner at USC. So what makes you think that, all right, he gets drafted, and if you get drafted #1, 9 times out of 10, you're going to go to a pretty bad franchise. And the Bears, out of all franchises, haven't even had a 4,000-yard passer ever. That's insane. In the modern era, they've never had a 4,000-yard passer. So you were talking about a franchise that doesn't take care of quarterbacks. So now we got JAYDEN. He's going to the Commanders, who got a brand new owner, So Dan Snyder, he's out the picture. They got a brand new GM from the 49ers. And then you got Dan Quinn as a head coach, which I know very well because he was the head coach of the Falcons, who actually coached the Falcons to the Super Bowl. So Dan Quinn is a great head coach. You talked about the Cowboys earlier. He was there at DC on the Cowboys. They had a top 3, top 5 defense every year that he was there. And look at the Cowboys defense without him. And look at the Commanders defense. So now Jayden, he has a great defense, a great run game, Scary Terry at receiver. He's balling. And just like with a Russell Wilson, because, bro, they played the Steelers hard. I saw that whole game. If Jayden, all he has to do is just take care of the football. They run the ball. He probably has to make 3 or 4 tough throws a game, if that, and just let everybody else make plays. And, bro, they have a recipe to win. They can still compete for the NFC East. They played against the Eagles, but I think the Eagles, are probably going to take that. But they will be a playoff team. And to your point, in the NFC, it's wide open, man. All it takes is making it to the dance, and you can beat anybody. So, yes, they can easily – to me, I see them making it to the second round of the playoffs because I see them winning in the first round. And once you get to the second round, who knows? And then before you know it, you could be like the Lions. You playing in the NFC Championship. So, yes, bro, Jayden, he's a dog, man. His future is so bright. Like what you said, he has a great circle, a beautiful black circle. He has his mother taking care of him. And, yeah, man, like you could just tell that he has his head right on his shoulders and everybody loves him. And Caleb Williams, it's rumors that his locker room isn't really fooling with him. But Jayden, everybody, they loved him from day one. So it's – man, honestly, hey, Rue, I see him being a top 5 quarterback within the next 2 to 3 years. Easy.
Oh, yeah, because I remember seeing him at LSU. And, he dominated there, but it's hard to translate domination in college to NFL. And he basically, has he's gotten even better. Like it's hard enough, getting to be the same player you were in the NFL as you were in college when you're a quarterback, let alone surpassing some of the things, first couple games you do a Hall of Fame play. Like, my God, like the brother's out here balling on a whole nother level, and it just goes to show you when you got that melanin in you, what type of heights you can reach and type of things you can achieve. Because our brother is definitely headed for that. The black quarterback has always been something people talked about. And it's always, like even when we look at Jameis Winston, that's a solid brother right there. In the right environment, he could probably flourish. Look at Geno Smith. Nobody really knew about him on the Jets, but he then went to the Seahawks and then was, under Russell left. He then took over, and then he's been able to, dominate and just do things he just wasn't able to do on the Jets. So when you have a change of environment, I truly believe you definitely can succeed, and the rise of the black quarterback is definitely there. But on another note, my brother, Aaron Rodgers seemingly, has been struggling lately.
What are the emotions right now at 3-8?
Yeah, disappointed.
How do you stay motivated going forward?
I'm in my 20th year, so I've figured out a way to do this for a long time. So I just got to remember why you fell in love with this game. This will be definitely a week to clear all of our heads and come back and stick together.
Last year, first game, 9/11, he gets injured, right? And then his whole season's done. Then he comes back this season. Everybody sees it like, oh, this might be, a resurgence, right? But to me, I'll be honest with you, when I did a little research and I saw how the way that Aaron Rodgers treated Jordan Love, and that was almost identical to the way Brett Favre treated Aaron Rodgers. And then we know Brett Favre, when he left the Packers, he went to the Jets. And it literally is identical to what Aaron Rodgers did. He left the Packers and went to the Jets. And it's like, he can't catch a break every which way. Like the last game they played, like we talk about the rise of the black quarterback, Anthony Richardson, he should have won, everybody probably thought, no, Aaron Rodgers, he got this game. And Anthony Richardson just comes up with that late play and gets that 1-point win from hitting that touchdown. So Aaron Rodgers and New York teams, there's really no pressure. I mean, Robert Saleh leaving, there might be just the organizational people weren't saying they were meshing well. So we don't really know what was going on behind closed doors. But even without Saleh in there, now they're still, not being able to find ways to win games. So is it the coach? Is it Aaron Rodgers? Does Aaron Rodgers, is this father? You know, he's not a father, but in, you know, age-wise, is the father time kicking up? So just from your perspective, what, you know, what is there to think about that?
That's a good question. That's a really good question, Heru, because I think culture is so important. When we look at Russ and his transition into Pittsburgh and how seamless it is. And I think Pittsburgh, if I'm not mistaken, is like 8-2 right now. Nobody would have ever expected that. We're talking about the same Russ who people said his career was over when he played for Denver last year. Culture is so important. And Mike Tomlin, like you said, you got to give it to the black coach. The culture, the Rooneys, the Steelers only had, what, 3 head coaches since the 60s? You're talking about 3. In today's time, we see coaches get fired every year, like on the Jets, Woody Johnson. People talk about Jerry Jones, but nobody talks about Woody Johnson. That man is insane. To have fired Robert Saleh, who was doing, I get it, he wasn't the best coach, but it's just like, what did you expect? And you thought that a dude who tears his Achilles at 40 is going to come back better than ever. That's insane. And then you have a terrible offensive line. So you have a guy who tore his Achilles. He's now immobile. His whole game is off of moving outside of the pocket, basically. And now you have a terrible offensive line. It's a recipe for disaster. And then they gave Aaron Rodgers too much control. Like, he brings in Randall Cobb, Alan Lazard. Like, he brings in the whole Packers, Devontae Adams. Devontae, he's been so disappointing. So it's just like, to me, you got to cut that pie up evenly to everybody. Aaron Rodgers, he came in too cocky. Aaron, I don't want to hear nothing from him. You chose to go to the Jets. He could have went anywhere. Yep. You chose the Jets. You chose one of the most dysfunctional franchises in all of sports with one of the most unstable owners. And then you go to a coach that is a defensive-minded coach. So Robert Saleh, he can't help you when it comes to offense. And then Woody Johnson is just impatient. But I'm like, this is what you wanted. You wanted Aaron Rodgers. You should have just drafted a young quarterback. You would have had a whole bunch of salary cap space, give him time to develop. But instead, you messed up Zach Wilson's career. You cut him. You let him go. And we got Aaron Rodgers playing. And, bro, I'm going to tell you something, man. Tyrod Taylor, give him a shot, because I've heard that Woody Johnson, they said he wanted to bench Aaron after week 4. So,
I'm not surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if, like, another bad game from Aaron Rodgers, you know, we might see the transition, you know, Aaron Rodgers out as quarterback and Tyrod Taylor is up next. And yet again, we find ourselves talking about the rise of the black quarterback. And he ain't even a young quarterback. So, you know, because I remember he was on the Giants. Tyrod Taylor been bounced around. On
the Ravens. He got drafted by the Ravens with Bill Flacco back there. Yeah. So it's just interesting how, you know, the tables are somewhat turning in the favor of the, you know, the rise of the black quarterback. And it's all very interesting because, you know, even it shows like, you know, a white man like, hey, cut that white man, bring the black man in. You know, so they no love lost for their own people sometimes. Hey, Rue, on that standpoint, a lot of people don't talk about this. Woody Johnson is one of Trump's biggest donors. So you're talking about a guy, to your point, who was willing to cut ties with Aaron Rodgers to start Tyrod Taylor, who, funny enough, was the first black starting quarterback for, I think, the New York Giants. So Tyrod, he might make history again on the Jets. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah. We making history everywhere, no matter who in office, man. We out here, it don't even matter because we know how to deal with everybody from all different angles. So at some point, it's just like it is what it is. That person's there, this person's there. We still gonna do what we do. And that's what we do. And we're seeing it, you know, bleed over into sports too as well. Let's switch over to the NBA real quick. And I know that we're looking at some of the teams right now in the NBA. Start off with the Sixers. The disastrous start that we're seeing from the Sixers, just even before, you know, Paul George injuring himself, you know, in the preseason, Joel Embiid already saying, I'm not playing back-to-back games. He's getting into altercations with staff members, you know, being suspended games. You know, you already said you're not playing back-to-back, and then you're costing your team an additional 3 games on top of that. Now, I believe Joel Embiid, he's a good player, but I feel like he's lazy. And I'm only saying that from an analytical perspective because what I witnessed when he got that, he did everything to get that MVP. And once he got that MVP, flatline. His game was dead after that. It's like he was just doing everything he was doing to get that accomplishment, and then after that is done. Like, and then you get Paul George, you sitting up there, you looking like you tampering before Paul George is even in Philly. You know, you saying all of that, we could do this, we could do that, and then you come in, the first thing you saying is, I'm not playing back to back. How can you win? And that's like a person going to work and saying, I'm coming to work every other day. Shit, you bound to get fired after some point. So, you know, we got to understand the mentality. See, that's being lazy, and that's from an analytical. I'm not judging the brother. I'm just analyzing the things he says. So if you come out and already saying that you ain't playing back-to-back games, people already questioning the ability and the talent. Now, who's to say? Maybe he's just fed up with the organization, like we were talking about in NFL. Maybe he just needs a different environment. Maybe Joel Embiid needs to get traded to a different team. It's just not working in Philly. The Ben Simmons, Jimmy Butler, all of the things they've done throughout the past decade and so, it just has not worked for Joel Embiid. So maybe he just needs a different environment. What environment it is, I don't know. Maybe Joel Embiid would be a good player on the Pistons. Hey, you never know. I do think that he definitely needs a new setting, because this start to this season, and it just seems like Paul George, much respect to that brother. I know he broke both of his legs, but it's just seeming like every team he goes to, it just seems to dilute what the objective of the organization is. So I don't know. I'm thinking different settings is something that Joel Embiid definitely needs to go, because Tyrese Maxey was just calling him out. And Tyrese Maxey looked like he's trying to take over the ranks, you know, and set Tyrese Maxey up with another all-star player. Then Philly could come back with that resurgence that they've been looking for, trust the process and all of that. But until then, I don't know, my brother. What you think?
Yeah, man, that is a great point, Heru, because I think that this conversation needs to be had, that Joel Embiid is a little overrated. And I say that not from a talent standpoint. I say that from, like what you said, he's had everything that a superstar would need to win. They gave you Ben Simmons. They gave you Jimmy Butler. They gave you James Harden. They gave you so many superstars. Paul George. Like, when is enough? And bro, people used to always say when he was dominating in the East, it's just the Eastern Conference. All right, so let's hold that same standard. It's just the Eastern Conference, and you can't make it to a conference final. And at best, you get knocked out in the first or second round, which is not going to get the job done. And you brought in all this money. I think PG got paid $222 million. I posted on my story last night about kids saying Paul George is their GOAT. I'm like, because y'all didn't grow up watching Paul George. That's insane. And this is another reason why, like, I don't want to hear him in those conversations, because every team he goes to, they truly underperform. On the Clippers, underperformed. Right now on the Sixers, I would have never predicted. People had them finishing at the top of the Eastern Conference with Boston, and now they're going to be at the bottom. So they'll be worse this year than what they were last year with just Maxey and Joel. So, hey, Ru, if I was the Sixers GM, trust the process is officially over. I'm trusting Tyrese Maxey. I'm trading Joel Embiid. PG, if I can, I'll try to trade him too, and I'll build around Maxey. I'll try to get him a nice power forward, whether it's somebody like a Evan Mobley from the Cavs or even a John Collins. Just try to get in somebody at the 4 or at the 5. But Joel, he has to go this summer, and even PG, because he's aging. So I don't see the whole purpose of paying two people $200+ million, and we only got 2 wins. And the most I'm paying is to somebody, like what you said, who says I'm only coming to work every other day, and he's going to get hurt in the playoffs. I'm good.
Yeah, and I think that's even why, you know, we're seeing the Warriors dominate so much. They got Buddy Hield, but actually Paul George was in talks of going to the Warriors, you know, over the summer. As we see, you know, the Warriors, they're just like, the Warriors are the team that you just can't count out. You just can't count them out. You know, they got counted out when Durant left. Boom, they come back, go to the finals, beat the Celtics, you know. Yes. And then now they got Buddy Hield, you know. That's another splash, brother. It's like the Warriors have the perfect way of recruiting and understanding who to develop. Even when they draft people nobody know about, they'll develop them into something. You know, there's a lot of players on the Warriors. We might not know their names, so to speak, but they be balling out. And the Warriors have always known how to capitalize on their bench. Mm-hmm. You know, they've always been able to have some of the best bench players in the league coming off the bench. When you go back to Sean Livingston, Six Man of the Year multiple times. He was a crucial, reason why they was winning. And the Warriors just know how to use their players. They know how to do what they do. They know Steph Curry. He has like a forever young gene.
Steph is like 36, right?
Yeah, it's like
that's insane.
It's like that brother's gonna be balling at 48. They'll have him coming off the bench at 50.
Shooter threes.
Yeah, he'll definitely be like Ray Allen, even upgraded. So I just believe like the Warriors, we can never count them out because they definitely can come out the West for sure, especially now because they were showing spurts that they were good last year.
Yeah,
and then they had to meet certain teams that they weren't able to dominate. But when you got Buddy Hield, how many people you going double team and you're always going to leave? That's how they won before, is that they always had a shooter in the corner. So if you double team Steph, double team Clay, double team Draymond, they had another person that could shoot the three. And they've always capitalized on it, been able to go to the finals and win. So the Warriors definitely are I would say we cannot sleep on the Warriors going to the finals. They definitely come out the West. I don't really see the Suns, the Nuggets. They seem a little shaky. I'm not too confident, in any of those teams coming out. But if Curry stay healthy, Buddy Hield stay healthy, Draymond Green stay healthy, doesn't, rack up text, doesn't rack up, all off court, nonsense, then you might see the Warriors go and win a championship again.
Very much so. But hey, Rue, I'm gonna tell you, man, it's all about matchups. Golden State, though, I think has embodied San Antonio because of Steve Kerr. Steve Kerr, of course, undergrad Pop, he carried that same thing. A lot of people, they forget Steve Kerr was the GM of the Suns back in the day in the early 2000s when they had Amari, when they had Steve Nash, all our guys. Who else was on the team? It was a whole bunch of guys, Sean Marion, all those people. Yeah. But I say all that to say that Steve Kerr, he's that glue. Bob Myers, interestingly enough, was Bob Myers, the same guy who was the GM of the Warriors at the time, is now assisting on the Commanders as their coach GM somewhat. So he's already winning over there. So they had all of those people over there at the same time. Their owner, I think Joe Lacob, bro, you talking about Silicon Valley money. So recruiting guys for free agency is so easy because it's like, hey, do you want to become a billionaire potentially? Well, hey, you can rub shoulders with these people at Silicon Valley while you're playing over here in San Francisco. KD, he did that, and he admitted he made a lot of bread by rubbing shoulders with the right people. Steph as well. And what nobody talks about is people thought with them losing Clay, it was such a bad idea. Why are they doing this to Clay? Look at how the Mavs are looking, and look at how Golden State is looking. And to me, Buddy Hield, that's an upgrade. You talk about somebody who is a strong asset. He's younger. Buddy has quietly been a sniper the past few years in the league. He was on the Pacers, bro. He was going crazy on the Pacers. And I'm like, nobody's talking about Buddy Hield. Yeah, and then on the Sixers last year. So, yeah, man, I got Golden State most definitely finishing top 3 in the West. But the one team, and it's crazy because in the West, if the Lakers didn't have to play the Nuggets, we saw them make it to the conference finals 2 years ago. And then, of course, they got swept by the Nuggets. They were dominating in the playoffs until they had to play the Nuggets. I feel like Golden State, they're the same way. If they don't have to play the Lakers, they will be fine. But I feel like if they do have to play the Lakers in the playoffs, especially if it's early, who's going to guard AD? But to me, Lakers, Warriors, teams like that, they don't have to finish number 1 in the West to be a problem. If they even finish just avoiding a play-in, they will be fine. I think Golden State and the Lakers, when we're talking about experience, you don't want to see those teams. And, bro, you don't want to see Steph. We've seen Steph on the road, like what you talked about earlier. I think that was 2022 when they played against Boston. Game 5, he went crazy. Like, it's something about those 35 and up guys that all they got to do is make it to the playoffs. And once they make it to the playoffs, it's a whole different mode. And you don't want to see Steph win his win-or-go-home situations because for some reason, it's like every single time when he's shooting a 3, when he needs to make it magically, it goes in every time.
Yes, and just he can only beat his own records at this point. Steph, when the only record you can beat is your own record, he's a generational talent. When we look at his innovation of the 3-point, if we go back 10 years, bro, there were shooters, Manu Ginobili, Ray Allen. You had the 3-point shooters, but the amount of 3-point shots that are being taken in 2024 versus, let's say, 2014 is ridiculous because of Steph Curry, and he makes it look so effortless. So that's why other people say, well, if he could do it, I could do it. Look at his height. Look at all of that. Yeah. And then you'd be like, nah, I could do that.
No.
It takes practice. There were people talking about they worked out with Steph Curry and they threw up.
I hear that all the time. Yeah. Yes. And bro, I'll tell you this too, hey Ru, Joel Embiid. That is a situation potentially where that could work if he was at a Golden State, because honestly, they wouldn't need him too much. He could take off every other night. But hey, in the playoffs, we're going to need you, because imagine a 5 catchable, because I think that's Golden State's chink in their armor. They will be fine in the playoffs until it's time to play a Boston, I think, because Porzingis, as you saw, who did Boston play in the finals last year? Dallas. Dallas didn't have anybody to match up with a 5 like Porzingis, so it showed. I feel like Golden State, they're the same way. They can make it far, but if they play the right team, if they play a Denver, if they play the Lakers, or if they make it to the finals and play a Boston, they're going to have problems, because it's like Draymond, he can only get so many fouls in the game. So that is the only thing. But if they find a way to dodge certain teams, Steph, he can most definitely get ring number 5, which will be, might have to start putting him in that GOAT conversation if he gets ring number 5. It will get very interesting.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And it's like we might be headed there this season. I definitely foresee that, because Steph Curry, if Steph Curry is healthy, there's no stopping him. We've seen Spurs, but Steph Curry has never gotten injured in the finals. He's never gotten injured when he might get injured during the season, a couple games, that might really not count in totality, So we're definitely seeing a resurgence, all across sports. A lot of people getting that resurge. These young people gotta, step their game up. Some of these young people, coming onto the court, but Steph Curry gotta let you know, I did this, and you gonna come on this court trying to emulate me. So I gotta show you who ranks king around here. So and that's what Curry does, and we saw it even when it was in the summertime on US.
That's what I was just gonna ask you. Hey, you read my mind, because bro, I was just about to ask you, do you think? Because I'm seeing AD, he's playing out of his mind right now. We haven't seen AD stay healthy this early and play dominant. LeBron, he's playing dominant. Steph is playing dominant. Jason Tatum is playing out of his mind. So do you think that
much playing time?
Although he didn't play too much, do you think that seeing these guys who played in the summer, do you think that them playing in the summer helped them playing against the top competition in the world? So then when it's time to start the season in a month or two, they are already at tip-top shape. What do you think about that?
Oh, yeah, they definitely had that in the summertime, being able to go overseas. And the fact that they won, they had that level of confidence. And then a couple months later, you're already in preseason. So it's like when you do Team USA, you're really not taking a break. There are people, some people taking breaks because they're not playing on Team USA. They got a couple months off before, preseason starts, and they got to start doing their workout. But when you in game mode, and you ain't taking no breaks off, that's like what you're saying, because everybody who was playing on Team USA is dominating at the top of their game.
KD, right? I forgot. KD as well. Yeah, he's playing well.
Yeah. And even though he's injured, he definitely if the Suns go anywhere, it'd be because of him. No, much respect. But Devin Booker and Bradley Beal, they've never gotten to the winning stage. Even though we saw Devin Booker go to the finals against the Bucks, even though they lost. It's still, just going to the finals, you actually have to you have to go there multiple times. Let's be honest, just going once, it's a nice, when you get to go and see a nice luxurious house or something, but you want to live. When you look at Patrick Mahomes, when you look at Steph Curry, when you look at LeBron James, those people know that they're going somewhere at the end of the season. Wherever it might be, they just have that dog mentality that they know that they'll always be able to, surpass. And, when your only competition is yourself, there is no competition.
That is true. Jeez, yeah, man, that's a fact, Aaron.
And, speaking about LeBron, let's talk about his old team, Cavaliers. The Cavaliers, I know they lost against the in the in-season tournament. They lost against the Celtics a couple days ago, and then they won. And then they won the other day. But the Cavs are definitely looking like a whole different team, and especially with what's going on in Milwaukee with the Bucks. The East seems like a shoo-in in the NBA for the Cavaliers to go to the finals. Like,
it's
if
crazy.
everything stays the same, the Cavaliers are going to. Well, let me not say that. The Cavaliers and the Celtics will be the Eastern Conference
Finals.
Matchup. But the way the Celtics are going, the way the Bucks are going, we might even see Giannis out of there. And he'd be a person that every team wants. Every team can use Antetokounmpo right now. If the Bucks ain't gone, do what needs to be done, get him comfortable and get him stable. I felt like, there's a lot of like coaching changes that went on with Antetokounmpo. He's kind of like Joel Embiid, like you get what you want.
That's a good comparison.
Maybe a different environment is what both Joel Embiid and Antetokounmpo need for them to really, because Antetokounmpo already has a ring. We know that. Joel Embiid is still searching for his first ring. But what we do know is that these two individuals are not comfortable with the environment that they're in right now. But like what we was talking about, the Cavaliers. The Cavaliers are definitely surging, and Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland, like all of the different people on the Cavaliers are just showing up. And, outside of Donovan Mitchell, you really don't have that superstar, and even Donovan Mitchell is not that mega superstar, but they're out here dominating because they're playing the game the right way. And that's the key a lot of times when you don't have that quote unquote super duper star on the team. Donovan Mitchell's a superstar. I'm not taking any credit away from him.
But not that like elite top 5 type player.
Yeah. But he is playing as if he's that. So when people don't want to give you that recognition, right, you got to go take it. So he's like, y'all don't want to give me no real recognition as no top, 5 player. I'm going to go on and take it. And if they were to go to the finals and potentially win or something or another, or even give Celtics a run for their money, that would definitely be good under his belt as it relates to, like, y'all sleeping on me. People were doing that with Jimmy Butler. He was able to reach the finals a couple times. But like I said, you reach a couple, you got to get it at least once. So what do you think about the Cavs? Do you think that they have what it takes to get to the finals?
I would say no. Only reason why. I'm from Atlanta, as you know, and they remind me of the 2015 Hawks. I think that Hawks team won like 60-plus games. They were a great regular season team, and they even made it to the conference finals. But they faced a LeBron. And technically, the Hawks had the better team because I think at the time, Kevin Love, he was out because I think they played Boston that second round, and they had knocked his shoulder out of place. And then Kyrie, he got hurt eventually. But LeBron, he was just the better player, unfortunately. But the Hawks had the best team. Budenholzer, who then later coached Giannis to a finals and won. His system works under Greg Pop as well. I think that they mirror that team so much because there's no definitive quote-unquote superstar, but they play so well as a team. And I think that if they didn't have to play a Boston, they could make it to the finals. But unfortunately, I think that they would have to face Boston in the conference finals, and it might get ugly. But I see, bro, this Cavs team winning, if not 55-plus to 60 games. Because, I mean, starting off this strong, all you got to do is just probably go 5-2. And then before you know it, if you keep going 5-2, you're already at 50-plus wins already. So, and Kenny Atkinson, you were talking about Golden State's culture. Kenny Atkinson was the head assistant coach of Golden State last year. So he's brought that same system to the Cavs, and they are winning. Kenny, I think he was the head coach of the Nets a few years ago. He might have been there when Kyrie was there, and then he got fired. But, yeah, man, I just think that he has those guys playing team basketball. If a Paul George was smart, I could just imagine a healthy Paul George if he was playing for the Cavs. Because I just think that they probably need one more piece. If they win 50-plus, if they get that second or even that first seed in the East, if they don't make it to the finals, and to your point, if they give Boston a run for their money, don't be surprised next summer if they swing for the fences for a Giannis or for a big trade, because all they need is just one piece, bro. That's it. All they need is just one more piece.
And they might not even have to wait. They might be able to do it, before the trade deadline.
I would do it.
Like, if Antetokounmpo went to the Cavs,
I would
and
do
then
it.
Because we know Donovan Mitchell he's not his ego. He's not as egotistic, to be like, oh, I don't want Antetokounmpo, because I think there's a little bit of ego between Antetokounmpo and Damian Lillard.
I agree.
Damian Lillard and it don't seem to be meshing too well. I don't think it was the coach. I don't think it was any of that. I think it's just not meshing well. But I do believe if you were to blend Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell, and Antetokounmpo, and the Cavaliers definitely will have people hype back up like when they won with LeBron in 2016. I definitely think a move of Antetokounmpo to the Cavs would definitely be good. But see, the only thing about that is that what they would have to give up to get Antetokounmpo. That's the only thing.
That's the caveat.
Yeah, he might have to wait. If he wants to make that move, he might have to wait, because what you would have to give up for him might be a little bit more than you're willing to want to bargain, because Antetokounmpo is not just a player or two. You trade for him, you got to trade your superstars. You're not just trading a couple bench plays and some draft picks. So
it's not worth it, man, because I would say see how far y'all could go this year. So then that way you could just sign somebody as a free agent, opposed to trading away assets, keep those draft picks, keep staying young, salary cap space. But unfortunately, though, bro, we see way too often in the playoffs, it's about adjustments, because, man, you seeing the same team potentially for 7 games. And it's like Donovan and the Cavs might be a great regular season team where, okay, I only have to see you once out of 82 games or twice max. But then it's completely different if I know, okay, I played you on Tuesday, I lost, but then on Thursday, I'm going to have this adjustment for that. And unfortunately, bro, you are going to need a go-to guy. Donovan, he is that. Darius is turning into that. But I just think, man, if you want to win in the finals, bro, you got to have a superstar. Have to. I'm not saying 3 superstars like how it was back in the day with the Heat or Golden State or the Cat. No, but at least 2 guys have to, minimum.
Yes, definitely. Let's talk about what we saw in boxing and, of course, with MMA. And let's start off with, obviously the Tyson and Jake Paul fight. We pretty much kind of had an idea. Maybe we thought there was going to be what Mike Tyson used to do. And we know that there's a lot of logistics. We know that there's a lot of clauses in the contracts, and we know certain people weren't able to do certain things, So it was just another level of form of entertainment. And I believe that that's why they showed it on Netflix, because they knew they weren't going to give the people, to be honest, the 3 fights before that were more engaging than the actual Tyson and Paul fight. So I just believe that, Tyson got a nice bag for it. Certain things that, he did throughout his career puts him in a position where he maybe pay back some debts, maybe set his children up for future generations. Yeah. So we understand that from that perspective. So just seeing Mike Tyson and, a 58-year-old going against a 27-year-old, and even we know it was fixed. The fact that, just the fact that a person like Mike Tyson can be almost 60 years old, which, in numbers world, we're talking about senior citizen age, to some degree. So if he can step toe to toe with somebody that could be his son, or even if you go as far as to say that could be his grandson, to some degree, it's just how the dynamics look. We know race played a factor. Even Jake Paul crawling up towards Mike Tyson. Yeah, he might have stepped on his foot, but we know there's a connotation when you are looking at a black man as a white man and you're running up on him as if mimicking a monkey's thing. We know the connotation with that and all of that. We understand that, Rocky, when Muhammad Ali was giving Rocky an award for the Sylvester Stallone, he was giving Sylvester Stallone an award for the movie Rocky. And he was like, y'all can only do this in the movies. Y'all can only do this when it's staged for y'all to win. So I believe that, what we saw, with the Tyson and Paul fight was just another example of, they can only beat us when they give us, they basically paid Mike Tyson to take a fall in a sense. They basically said, you want a nice, solid payday? You ain't going to meet this payday anywhere else. And he probably accepted, which, as it relates, and that's why it goes to the conversations around reparations, goes to the conversation around what we need as a people, because if we had our reparations and we had all those things, Mike Tyson wouldn't need to be taking no dives to get the bag against a white boy and make it look like you're giving him some solidification in the boxing world, you know. And that's why it always goes back to, you know, the legacies that weren't left for our people. Mike Tyson didn't have a legacy, you know, left for him because of the conditions that he faced. So it forces some of our people to have to do things jokingly, entertainment wise, not serious. And, you know, the end result is that Black folks pretty much understand what transpired in that fight. Nobody's sitting up judging Mike Tyson because we know what it was about. So I just feel like, you know, after we saw that, we understand what we saw. And, you know, I don't think there will be a second fight or anything like that. But just from what did you think about when you saw that? Like, just seeing Mike Tyson box a white boy at that, and person basically half his age.
Yeah. Hey, Rue, you already know, man. I was thinking about, I know Hey Rue is just dissecting this thing because it was so multi-layered, right? To your point earlier about the whole monkey thing and then Mike, him slapping him. And I just think this was a whole humiliation thing for Mike, where Mike, of course, he gets paid, but craziness, like he's getting interviewed wearing his jockstrap and they are filming him walking away. I'm like, yo, what are we doing to Mike? Like, why are we doing this to him? Bro? This is crazy. This is crazy. And honestly, bro, I'm going to tell you this as well, Aaron. When I was watching it with Sid, I knew what type of time they were going to be on when the previous fight with the Puerto Rican fighter and the Irish fighter, the Puerto Rican fighter had won. It was clear. She was getting her. At first, she was on the ropes, but she got back in there. And once they let the Irish lady win and she was biting and playing dirty, and that's not the first time that she's fought dirty and that she won, I already knew, man. Jake, they going to have him come in. And then Mike, you could tell when he was like gnawing on his gloves, I think that was Mike trying to hold back because he was told to hold back. He had signed to hold back. So during those moments where Mike is getting frustrated because he knows, man, I could clean this young dude up right now. He gnawing his glove. So I just think that this was to propel Jake Paul as that great white hope. Yeah. I saw somebody post this one meme. I think it was Joe Budden. Joe Budden, he's hilarious, where it was Mike and Kamala like hugging each other. And I think that during this season, it's about Black people feeling defeated. And I'm not saying, of course, Kamala represented us at all, but just that essence of Black people taking L's right now to their great white hopes of a Donald Trump, of a Jake Paul, of them trying to get back on top. And then what better way to do that through boxing? Like what you said, through Rocky. We've seen it through Jack Johnson, of them getting mad at Jack Johnson. So I just think that Mike personifies Jack Johnson today because we're talking about a man who was Muslim, a man who was riding for Farrakhan for decades at this point with the Nation of Islam. Mike is super pro-Black. And I just think that once we get in that position, to your point, you alluded to it, of when we don't have our own ecosystem, our own economic infrastructure, this is what happens to our Black talents, where we see them doing residencies in Vegas. And I'm not knocking Usher either, but of seeing our older acts having to work themselves to the bone, even at an older age. Like Mike is 58. There's no reason why he should be in a boxing ring. Mike should be having Floyd Mayweather type of money where he should be good for the rest of his life. He's arguably the most iconic fighter that's still alive till this day. So seeing a Jake Paul even trying to fight him is white supremacy at its finest, because that's the most cowardly thing that you could do. You don't get brownie points for beating up on older people. And yeah, Mike is Mike, but he's still 60 years old. So you don't get points for being in your physical prime fighting against a Mike Tyson. But you know that Mike's essence is so strong by you saying that I beat up Mike Tyson. It sounds cool, but it's whack to me, man.
But I do think that following evening, we definitely got a little bit of revenge in that sense, from the perspective of seeing a Black man knock out a white man, because we saw that Jones fight, that followed. Yeah. So that was good, and like we were talking about Floyd Mayweather, I think, John Jones is definitely the Floyd Mayweather of MMA, because John Jones, even though he has that one loss under his belt, they were explaining how that one loss was due to some type of move that he did, but now they made that same move legal. So they're looking at that. So basically he'll be undefeated. So John Jones, he's just out here just, dominating. they said the last time he lost the fight was 2010.
Wow.
Yeah, I was still in high school when he lost.
That's crazy.
So
Wow.
and just the calculation, he was like just, first couple rounds, just it was, they were going back and forth. And then when he saw that nice clean shot, boom, got him, done. And then the image of him and Trump, like as much as we say about Trump, this, that, and the third, we also got to understand the same way the system and the government uses us is the same way we got to start using the system and the government for us, So when we, so a lot of times, we see certain things and we want to get overtly emotional about it, but we got to figure out that's not how they are able to win. They don't sit up and get emotional about certain things. We got to think about, 50, 60, 75 years from now, what we want. So we got to be able to utilize the people that are around us, whether we agree with their ideology or not, because they ain't going nowhere. So we got to do what we got to do. And I feel like sports, consciousness, all of those different things, wrap up what we represent. This is America. This is, we're Black Americans. All of the sports is us.
Yes.
We can talk about all of the different sports and how their correlations to indigenous, just all of the different things. And we'll definitely be divulging more on that as we, unveil this podcast, because this is definitely needed for our people. Let's talk about some sports. Let's talk about some consciousness, and let's find a balance in between, So this definitely has been a good ushering in for what we're trying to bring, because we're trying to run it up, family. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to run numbers up. We're trying to do everything, run everything up. Life is a sport. We got to just do it. Nike, just do it. We here, family.
Yes, sir.
Brother Haroon Nasset, my brother Caleb Smith. We here, family. Yes, sir. So run it up, family. This is just a pilot, but get ready. 2025, we coming with that heat. So family, like we always do at this time, stay strong. Peace out. And remember, run it up.
Peace.
Run it up.